How are you today, Field?
I'm not very well. My heart is broken, but go ahead.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Um, so this is September the 13th, 2022, and we are about to launch a little Good News Radio.
Yes,
And
that's true.
I would like, before we get into the radio, the launching of the radio, I'd like to ask you some questions to clear up some questions that your listeners have had regarding what happened to you over the last 2 years, specifically with Timothy Holmseth, Randy Erickson, Kirk Pendergrass, the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force, and the situation regarding the attorney from Florida, Kim Picasio. Are you okay with me asking these questions?
Yes, but I'm under a gag order not to mention one of the names you just mentioned, so you will not hear me mention that name, even though you can.
Okay, so I'm just going to say the Florida attorney from this point forward, okay?
Yep, I understand.
Okay. So, so what happened, Field? How did you meet Timothy Homseth and Randy Erickson?
I honestly do not recall, but I believe they showed up at my then office, 401 Main Street in Plum City, Wisconsin, zip code 54761. And I think they showed up unannounced. This is, I've had, you mentioned, I think you mentioned 2 years. Actually, I've had 3 years that are just a collection of heartbreaking issues. But I don't want to be negative. Everyone that may hear this has been in heartbreaking issues. This is nothing unique to me. It's just I'm getting old enough and weak enough where I don't wish to endure much more. But they did show up at 401 Main Street, and Timothy came into my that building, which I hope you'll be here someday. The building is no longer in my control. That's another heartbreaking story. But let's get to the positive stuff. The positive stuff is Timothy Holmseth was with me in my side of the building, and the Randy person was hiding. I don't think that too many people in the truth movement hide. So, am I going to vilify Randy? No, I don't understand her. I don't know where she was coming from, but I do not have much confidence in anything she did ever say or anything she may ever say going forward. Go ahead.
Okay, so they showed up unannounced. Was it
Yeah.
just Tim and Randy, or was anybody else with them?
No, as I recall, now you got to remember we're going back over 3 years ago.
Yes.
Um, but I don't remember all the details. You've known me fairly well since we met in Vancouver at the Artful Dodger or whatever, that Jolly Tax Player, whatever that.
Yeah, the pub.
Yeah, it's a pub and a really good restaurant also.
Yeah.
Was it? Do you remember? Was it called the Jolly Taxpayer or what was it?
I think it's the Jolly Taxpayer. I'll have to go look it up. I have that information somewhere. But yeah,
Okay,
that
well
was
I'll look at it.
we ran into each other on a fluke, and what was that? 2006.
Six, yeah,
Yeah,
2006.
yeah, yeah, and that's where we met for the first time, and nobody knew about our relationship because I was really quiet about it for many years, for a lot of
Yep.
personal reasons as well. Not not just to be incognito, but I had stuff in my own personal life that was going on, and that was the bigger part of my staying quiet. But
Hmm.
getting back to Tim and Randy, so they showed up unannounced, and they were portraying to be what? What did they say they were part of?
Oh, they used a term that I don't know if it's even possible that this entity exists, but they said that they were with the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force.
Yeah. Since then, I've spoken to even to David Straight, and he said that that was a name that Timothy Homseth made up. It wasn't an actual presidential task force. And
Yeah.
Pendergrass has confirmed the exact same thing to me. That it was
Okay.
Kirk said it was shit made up by Tim, but I think that everybody was deceived by Tim and Randy to a certain degree. I don't think David Straight was, but he's a very humble man and he just didn't say much about it.
Okay.
But anyways, moving forward, so the information that you received from Timothy and his book, and your beliefs on a certain Florida attorney, was that based on your research or was that solely based on Tim's research?
First of all, just to make this as clear as possible to everyone who may ever listen to this, I am not a researcher. I'm like maybe a catalyst, and I don't mean as in bovine cattle. I mean, I'm a catalyst that draws attention. I'm not trying to draw attention to myself. I'm trying to draw attention to two things. First and foremost, Jesus Christ. That's the only truth that's out there. And yet there's people that even doubt that. But I'm trying to draw attention to the truth of what has almost caused the United States of America to cease to exist. And you recall that I was married to Denise, who's from the United Kingdom, correct?
Correct.
Well, in my time in the United Kingdom, and as far as the dynamic between myself and Denise, that's all positive and absolutely zero negative. But I did travel in a circle over there where I was capable of learning, meeting, talking to, or bumping into, which I guess is the famous meeting, interesting people. Now, do you remember the Russian dossier that was trying to take down Trump and trying to uplift that lesbian child trafficker named Hillary?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Well, the guy who created, according to the media, which I place no value in, I have no confidence in the mainstream media. However, they claim that the Christopher Steele operative, who was either then or previously an MI6 agent, meaning the media, they claim that he wrote the Russian dossier and it's all false. When I ask questions, I'm not trying to paint you in a corner. I'm just trying to make it such that anyone who listens to this can determine the veracity of it.
I'm quite familiar with the Steele dossier, yes. And the fake Steele dossier and the mechanics of it. I mean, it was a huge plot to take out first. They took out General Flynn, and then they tried to take out Trump using the connections to Russia, the fake connections to Russia. So, I mean, a lot of us are really awake to that. Others, not so much.
Well, many people, as in a vast majority of American citizens, don't understand that Russia itself has been one of our meaning the relationship between Russia and the United States of America has been very solid since the Civil War. Okay?
Yes. Yeah. I agree.
And Vladimir Putin, I've communicated directly one-on-one with Vladimir Putin about 3 times that are significant. Vladimir Putin has the solution to 9/11 at his fingertips. And what I'm not trying to be vague, but he has satellite footage of an aircraft that took off from an aircraft carrier on the morning of 9/11, somewhere within, say, 100 miles of New York City. And that particular aircraft that Vladimir Putin has evidence of was a Raytheon Corporation obsolete A3, that's Alpha-3 Sky Warrior. And there were two Sky Warriors used on 9/11. They were both privately owned by Raytheon Corporation, and they tied directly to John McCain,
Wow.
listen, he's deader than a doornail. Do you know how he died, Paula?
I know he was executed, and his daughter confirmed it. We have the footage of that. So,
Oh, his daughter confirmed he was executed?
well, she said, "Well, my father's dead. You can't kill him twice." So, yeah, she.
Listen, I personally, and I've got a witness that I'll talk to you. Today is Tuesday, so maybe by Thursday or Friday I will put you in touch with a human that was with Denise and I when I was standing on John McCain's gravesite at Annapolis, Maryland, at the U.S. Naval Academy.
Wow.
That's where his carcass is rotting. But
Wow.
I'm not asking you this question, Paula. I'm putting this question out for anybody who hears this. Could anybody in the world tell me why John McCain and George H.W. Bush, neither one of them were buried at Arlington National Cemetery? And I'll answer the question. If I think it's Tuesday. I keep getting mixed up. I'm having a bad week. But next time I chat with you, maybe we will have stimulated some input from other people that understand that neither McCain nor George H.W. Bush were allowed the respect of being buried at Arlington National Cemetery, where, by the way, my mother and my father were buried there. And the lady I'm going to put you in touch with, today is Tuesday. I'll get you in touch with her by Thursday or Friday. She's been reaching out to me, and she doesn't even know how heartbroken I am. But there were three of us at John McCain's gravesite, and the date was October 1st of 2019, I believe. And she can confirm that. She has photos. But the three people there were this lady that I call McHale, MCHALE, and that goes back to McHale's Navy, a TV show from the 60s. But the only three people at that gravesite that day were McHale, myself, and Denise. And when Denise died, I believe it or not, I was not tearful. I was not sad. Denise had to die because, according to her own death certificate, it said that the leading contributor to her death was the inability of her body to thrive. Okay?
Yes.
So Denise is gone. I didn't cry then because she had to go. She was living in hell, literally. She was alone on our 100-acre farm. She was alone in the house. There was nobody here but herself. She felt at great risk because she didn't understand that when you live on 100 acres in Wisconsin, you're actually very secure. It's where she grew up. And just to be historically accurate, she grew up in Frimley, United Kingdom, which is probably 35 miles south of London. And she, even though her parents were ethnic Northern Irish, which Northern Ireland is one of the 4 countries in the United Kingdom. By the way, not to demonstrate my ADHD, but just to show you I can turn on a dime. Did you see that recently a fake royal in the United Kingdom croaked?
Yeah, that was last week, September the 8th.
It was reported to be last week, but somebody that you're aware of, somebody who is, I can't say it, but it's not because I can't say it because it's not honest. Everything I'm telling you is honest. In fact, the reason that my voice broke there, I was thinking of a person over in England that I gave my heart to. But anyway, I think that if I put you in touch with that lady over in England, she can probably cause you to believe that lizard breath, or I used to call her the geriatric goose stepper. And why did I do that? Well, first of all, she was a geriatric, and she was a Nazi. Okay, guess what? Now we've gone full circle back from Queen Elizabeth to George H.W. Bush. They're both Nazis. I don't understand why people in Western Europe and North America do not understand to this day. And I'm looking at my calendar. I got to get my glasses off and dry the tears off them. 13th of September, Tuesday, I think. To this day, the vast majority of people that think they're educated have no clue as to who won World War II. They all think it was the Allies. No, it was not. It was the Axis. When Germany quit World War II, they didn't go away. They separated into 3 factions that I'm aware of, probably more. Some went to Argentina, I believe. Some went to Russia, I am certain. And some came to America, I am doubly certain. And the ones that came to America were involved in aviation. The ones that went to Russia, we'd have to check with people that are more educated than me. But I think the German engineers that went to Russia were there working on unguided flying vehicles such as missiles and rockets. But that's an opinion.
Yeah.
And one thing
there's a lot of information that has come forward recently, especially with Oliver Stone. He blew the lid off of it a few years ago about how many of the Nazis ended up in Ukraine as well. And as we know from recent activity, that Vladimir Putin was involved in taking out a lot of those bioweapon labs that they had created there as well.
Well, Joe Biden and his ambiguously gay son, Hunter, they operated 11 underground facilities, of which 8, by my information, which may or may not be accurate, 8 of those underground facilities in the control of Joe Biden. And remind me in about 10 minutes to tell you what Joe Biden's real name is. It's very close to Joe Biden, but it's not. But those underground facilities were for the storing and creation, in reverse order, creation and storing of weapons of mass destruction, chemical, biological, perhaps nuclear weapons. But they were also destinations for child trafficking victims who were dead.
Yeah.
Now, how did they get dead? Well, people like the guy that's not named Biden, people like him, and people like Hillary Roadhog Rockefeller, and I got that correct. I put the Roadhog in for a little twisted humor. But Hillary Roadhog is a Rockefeller, not a Clinton. And the way that works, even though you didn't ask me, I'm going to tell you, because this is critical. I'm talking about the true history of the United States of America. Bill Clinton was not a Clinton. Bill Clinton, William Jefferson Rockefeller, is the biological son of the governor of Arkansas, who in 1946 or early 47 impregnated Bill Clinton's mother.
Yeah.
And it was not her husband. It was Winthrop Rockefeller, who owned a corporation up till the time of his death. And the corporation was called Winrock, WINROCK, all one word. Now, where did I find that out? Okay, do you know that I used to be a pilot, Paula?
Yes.
Okay, one night I was going from either Amsterdam to Memphis or from Memphis to Amsterdam, and I was standing outside the lavatory, which we in the airline community call those things blue rooms, because the fluid in the toilets is blue colored. I don't know why. Who cares? I'm just giving you details that are verifiable so people can say, yeah, he either knows something or he's making this up. Well, I'm not making it up. I bumped into a man that was a management professional at a pretty high level of Winrock Corporation. And, you know, it's funny, the type of conversations you get into at 2 o'clock in the morning halfway across the Atlantic with people you've never met before. But if you have common knowledge, both parties can learn from each other. And I can't say I did it, maybe he did it, but between the two of us, we started talking about the corruption in Arkansas tied to the Rockefeller family. And he said, it's funny you should mention that because I work for Winrock. And I said, what's Winrock? He said, that's Governor Winthrop Rockefeller's, who was the governor. People can look it up. Notice I didn't say Google, but people can Google it and find out that Winthrop Rockefeller is the sperm donor for the guy that has Peyronie's disease that's rotting away in Guantanamo. As well he should. And his alleged wife, it's sort of funny because Bill Clinton has Peyronie's disease, if he's still alive. That's spelled PEYRONIE''S. And what that means is that Bill Clinton's kickstand didn't point straight forward, okay? Yeah.
Well, there's a twist to the story, hey? So,
it's not twisted, it's bent. I wrote a book called Gadget Bent. I think I have a copy in my office right now today. Yeah, the first book I wrote in this 13-book series called, let me think, Shake Hands with the Devil. That's the series of books I've written. And the first one was called Gadget Bent. And I was talking about Bill Clinton's penis, okay? How's that for direct?
Well, I guess that's why he needed some cigars in the White House. Anyways, moving on.
Okay, go ahead.
It's always good to have a laugh. So I just want to clear up, because when we get into the new radio show that I'm working on with you, I really want to put this information to rest, because I just want to get this business behind you. We know
I
that
don't want any negativity.
Exactly.
If I were a guy or a gal or a transgender, if I was somebody who was capable of suicide, I wouldn't be talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometime, well, maybe by Thursday or Friday or later today, whenever you and I talk on an unrecorded line, I can give you physical proof that I'm not suicidal. But you know what? My heart goes out to the brokenhearted. And I don't know how many people have reached out to me in the last couple of days saying that Jesus is always close to the those broken in spirit. Okay, let me tell you right off the top of my head, have I ever talked to you about a lady in Virginia who is a pastor?
Yes, you have.
Okay.
Yeah.
That person contacted me Monday morning, yesterday, and said that Jesus is always close to those broken in spirit. In fact, a lady from Indiana also sent me an image that alludes to those people that are broken in spirit.
We love you.
But off the top of my head, I responded to both of these ladies. I said, look up Luke 4:18 and look up Isaiah 61, the whole chapter, Isaiah 61. What they say is that someone, and it could be anyone, but in the case of this, it could be a human you know, but it's more likely that in the Bible, Luke 4:18 was talking about Jesus, and he said, I have come to restore sight to the blind, to heal those with broken hearts, and to announce the year of Jubilee, or freedom from debt, and to elevate those who are lowly in spirit. Rather than my reading it to get it right, because how do you get it right when there's probably 50 or 100 versions of the same scriptures?
Yeah.
But I would just recommend that anybody who's ever been down in the dumps, like I am, you don't have to stay there. I mean, yeah, okay, you might go there, but we're not prisoners. You know, just because somebody wants to harm us doesn't mean we have to allow ourselves to be harmed. God will give us every method of defense available in His control, not ours. But we do not have to remain lowly in spirit. There's a wonderful quote that I'm not going to come close to getting right, but I know I've sent it to you before. And one of the lines in the quote is, those who suffer the most smile the brightest. I don't know if you remember that, but I will get you that. And I don't know if you're going to put this up on the internet this week or next week or sometime in October, but I will get you that quote, because it goes on to say that those who suffer the most those that have suffered the most are motivated to ensure that very few people suffer similarly. And that's what I'm trying to do by quoting Luke 4:18. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. And I'm just quoting. I'm not saying the Spirit of the Lord is on Field McConnell. I'm quoting Luke 4:18. So let's change the subject before I start crying. But God doesn't want any more tears. Now, you know, I recently lost my best friend on earth.
Yes, I do know. Yeah.
Yeah, and do you recall that the day that my friend passed away was Denise's birthday?
Yeah, I know. We lost Dr. Michael Olson, and that's tragic. And let's say a prayer for him right now. Dear Father God, please watch over his spirit and his family. Bring healing to those that have left behind, and reassurance that Dr. Good Vibes is in heaven with you. And we trust in you always, Father God, and we trust in Jesus. Amen.
Well, can I say a prayer too?
Yes, please do.
Dear Dr. Good Vibes, dear Denise, I know that you two are up there in heaven. I've been told that you two are praying for me. And I want to thank you, Dr. Good Vibes and Denise. Thank you for caring about me, because I'm just a flawed and failing geriatric gunslinger. But until I'm out of rounds, I'm going to keep slinging my gun, and I'm going to be taking down every child trafficker I hear about. And some of them are pretty big names. George H.W. Bush, John McCain, Hillary Clinton, deader than a doornail. James Comey of the FBI, deader than a doornail. Barack Obama, question mark. His husband, Mike, question mark. But none of those people that have been in organized child trafficking are ultimately going to survive. And it's not a matter of me or anyone here on earth taking them out. It's a matter of God. And God says it in his own words. And God shares his words with us through the Bible.
Yeah. And
somewhere in Hebrews, I think, I'll have to check this out, but it talks about the enemies. I'll give you the quote, and then we'll figure out where it's written. It says that if we continue sinning after we have knowledge of the truth, there is no salvation left for us. Just my phone's acting odd. Yeah.
I'm still hearing you. If you cut out,
yeah,
I'll phone you back.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. Because see, God, well, you're witnessing the change in my voice right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, God will keep me in this fight, and if I run out of bullets, he'll send me a bow and arrow. And if I run out of arrows, he'll send me a new quiver. And I'm not talking about the song from Canada in 1976 by a group called The Bells, How He Makes Me Quiver, How He Makes Me Smile. Anyway, God, thank you for leading me in the way of righteousness. And if I've bumped into the curbs or gone over the side, occasionally, thank you for always getting me back. And God, I know that I'll get back from my lowly state right now, and a large part will be because of your word, Lord, written in Luke 4:18. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. So in the name of Jesus Christ, with the tutelage of God the Father and the support of the Holy Spirit, I'll bring this prayer to an end by saying, God bless everyone, and God bless America. But God bless America no more than Rwanda or South Africa or North Korea. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Sorry for that run-on prayer.
No, that's great. And I had tears in my eyes, and because I mean, we're friends. I know. I mean, I've been feeling this with you. I've been right with you on this. So we will be launching. We're in the process of launching your new radio show, which is about the good news.
No negativity.
No negativity, but I want to get this stuff. I'm going to ask you a couple more questions. I want to get this out of the way so that we can move forward and not look back at this anymore.
Okay.
So when you were I have to talk about Tim and Randy. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So you've said to me on many occasions you feel that you were deceived. I'm going to let you tell me your version and for the audience.
Well, the deceit started long ago before I knew it was deceit, but it continues to as recently as yesterday. And yesterday being, I forgot already, I think yesterday was Monday, today's Tuesday. So are you familiar with the name David Lester Straight?
I'm very familiar with David, yes. I've
and
spoken to him.
You're familiar with Juan 07?
Yes, I am very familiar with Juan, yes.
Okay, Juan 07's been in my office on several occasions. He's been in my home. Juan gave me a present, and I think it's out of respect, but when he wrote the book, The Kid by the Side of the Road, he only had one copy of the editor's proof. And I will send you a picture between now and Thursday. That one thing, the only one he had ever, is upstairs in the master bedroom of this house I'm in. I will send you a picture, and hopefully I can get it to you before you publish this, and then you can publish the picture, okay?
No, that sounds good. I probably won't put as much time into this video. I'll add some visuals for people, but it takes me a long time to edit, so I'll put some of the visuals in. But I'm going to keep this one really simple because I'd like to get it out. Because today's September the 13th, and I'd like to get it out before Friday.
Okay.
For people. So because that's the planning of our launch, we're going to do Fridays to start, right, Field? That's what we discussed.
Yeah, a little good news on Friday.
Yeah. Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yes. Because we're done. I mean, we know where we're at, and I think people really need to hear what is really going on, because there's a lot of confusion out there, and I'm hoping that your radio show, our radio show rather, because there's more than one of us involved, will shed light on what's really going on behind the scenes, because a lot of people are lost and confused. But before we get into the launching of a little good news, I'm just going to ask you some other quick questions. So you based your research on Tim's research. Like, you based your assumptions from Tim's research on the Florida attorney based on the research he had done, correct?
He wrote a book about Haley Cummings. And I read his book, and in his book, which I've got a copy of within 3 feet of my right hip right now, there's 661 references to some entity in Florida. Okay?
Yeah.
And so I was led to believe, or I was misled by Tim, to believe that party was involved in child trafficking. That appears not to be the case. Okay?
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because I did the research, and I dug more than I think any Anon dug into, I'm going to say her name, Miss Kim Picasio, and I couldn't find anything to back any of his research, and I ended up debunking a lot of his research. Her alleged connections to Scott Rothstein turned out to be bogus. That was fake. Different company name. I checked right down to the corporations. I looked for any connections that I could find. Nothing on Kim, and I looked. I'm telling you, Field, I dug for 5 years. I found nothing. The other thing too with her was that they were basing it on the Wayan Kruger tapes, which were all third party hearsay, and they were cut and spliced to create audio recordings that weren't true. And I debunked that too. I found I listened to days and days of Wayan Kruger's audio recordings. They were all taken out of context. And he basically based his entire theory on what he thought was true. And he manipulated the truth. And he's misled a lot of people. But I believe that God works in mysterious ways. And we know the truth today. We know that Kim Picasio is not a child sex trafficker. I know that we have differences in opinion on how the court systems work and the corruption within the courts. That's another situation, but keeping it down to, and that's working to resolve itself now as we speak, right? We have the David Straits and different people that are working to rectify that, and that time will come, and there will be unity again in once this is all resolved, and this is how we reach those places. So I don't want to judge people based on what they are doing within the existing judicial systems, which we know have have issues. And then people that are working in those systems also believe that, the sovereign citizen, they say, which is an oxymoron, but the state
Yeah.
national movement for state
Yeah.
nationals, they say they're flawed. And I think that once this all merges forward, I think we're going to find a good place for everybody once we sort out the differences and iron out the defects, let's say,
Can
right?
can I tell you where that good place is?
Yes.
It's in the lyrics to this song. There will be peace in the valley someday, I pray. There will be peace in the valley for me. Oh, Lord, I pray. Anyway, those days are coming soon. By the way, that song I just misquoted, Peace in the Valley, when Elvis Presley was invited to his first appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show, Ed Sullivan said, "What songs would you like to sing when you appear?" And he said, "I need to sing Peace in the Valley." And Ed Sullivan said, "No, you can't sing that gospel song on my radio show." And Elvis looked him right in the face and said, "Then I will not be on your television show." My mother wants me to sing Peace in the Valley. Now, does that mean Elvis was a mama's boy? No. It means, and it meant, and it will always be the truth, that Elvis was honoring his mother and his father. And that's the fifth commandment. Honor thy mother and father so that your days on the earth will be many. Now, Elvis is alleged to have died when he was about 42, I think. No, I'm sure. I'm alleged to be alive at age 72. And not only will I have a birthday in the next month, but the lady that I love is going to have a birthday in the next month. So anyway, the reason I bring up Peace in the Valley, that's where we're heading. And as it relates to the corrupt court system, now you know, Paula, that on September 8th, that Nazi queen died, according to media.
Yes.
Okay, well, do you know, are you familiar with the term maritime court or admiralty court?
Yes, I am.
Well, when she died, that fake court system died because we're no longer under the thumb of the admiralty or the maritime courts. Not only is the United States free of the Nazis, so is Canada, so is England, so is South Africa, so is India. And there's a lot of good news. And so I think it's very appropriate, and I think it's divine timing. And I know you've used that term divine before, but I think the timing, which neither you nor I controlled, a little good news radio, which is going to be no bad news. We don't need any more bad news.
No, we don't.
So we're going to have nothing but good news. And I don't even know how to spell chat room. But if anybody wants to be excused from our chat room, all they have to do is be divisive and say something negative, and then they will be locked out.
Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead.
I agree. I mean, that's what we've discussed with it. I will be around that chat room too, and I will make sure that all negativity is gone. I'm done with it. I'd like to unite us, not divide us anymore. I'm done with it. I'm about to move on permanently from this entire home Seth mess.
Good. Me too.
I was one that was led astray too. I'm sick of it. What is going on right now is absolutely disgusting. I've been following it and shaking my head and just like, wow. But I'm just going to quickly ask you some quick questions because I want to put this to rest. I want to ask you.
I'll be succinct. Go ahead.
I just want to ask you about Cindy Absug. She arrived at your house with Sarah Dunklin's boyfriend, Ryan. Can you please tell me the circumstances of their arrival?
Um, she was going through some type of a child separation, child protective services abuse in Colorado, and somebody put a bug in her ear that she needed to get out of Colorado or she'd be arrested. So very soon thereafter, she and Ryan hopped in a car that was driven by a medical student, and they not only did they hop in the car, but they all had cell phones, and they turned them off, which doesn't do anything, but they wrapped them in tin foil, all of their cell phones. And they drove nonstop, basically, from somewhere south and west of Denver to Plum City, Wisconsin. And because they needed to be secretive in their movements, they didn't tell me they were coming to my house. But I have a reputation among people that are reasonable and clear thinkers that there's a wonderful song by the Duprees called "I May Never Pass This Way Again." I shall pass this way but once. If there's any help that I can give, let me give it now. Oh Lord, please show me how, because I may never pass this way again. And people know that that's the spirit of my heart. And so they came here knowing that they'd be welcome. They also knew, I'm trying to think back to what month that was, but they knew that my then wife, Denise, was over in the United Kingdom, and so they thought that I would be alone in the house. It's a 5-bedroom house, and they were close, but I was not alone. There was a gentleman from, I'm being a little bit ambiguous here, but gentleman from Louisiana staying in my house, and he and I we were sitting in the living room at 11 p.m. when Cindy and her entourage showed up. And so I had a banging on my front door, and I turned to the guy. I'm trying to think of his name. It's Thomas, not Doubting Thomas, a different one. I said, "Hey, Thomas, I have no idea who's at my front door, but you stay here and just watch and listen, and I'm going to grab a .357 pistol and an AR-15 and go answer my door." By the time I got to the door, the guy, it turned out to be Sarah's boyfriend. He'd been to my house before as a welcome guest. Well, he knew where my deck was attached to the kitchen and the dining room. So he went around there and started knocking on that door and said, I think this is verbatim, "Field, it's Ryan. Come let me in." And so then Thomas, the guy that was staying here in my house, said, "Field, I'll go answer the door, but if you have to shoot that .357, please don't shoot me." And I said, "Don't worry, I aim well." And so he went to answer the door. Ryan came in, and then very soon the driver and Cindy came in. Now, what's the true Cindy Absug story? The answer is quite simple. I do not know. I don't even know if Cindy knows. And I think it's possible Sarah Dunklin or her friend Ryan might know, but the answer to your question in a single word is no, I don't know.
Okay. So you could have potentially shot Ryan answering the door because if they showed up unannounced. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I told Thomas. I said, when you go to that door, stay to the left side of the door, because if that door starts to open, I'm going to put a .357 round right through the center of the door.
Okay. So, yeah, okay. So they left, you had told me that you were on your way to the airport to pick up Denise, and they were still staying at your house because she was returning from the UK. And you received a phone call from somebody, you told me.
I did. And that somebody was Randy.
Okay, so what did Randy Erickson say to you?
She said, "Field, there's 3 people staying in your house that need to get out of there immediately, and there's 2 drones that are flying over your property, And I'm very public. I'm talking to you right now, and here we are on Tuesday. This might be up by next Tuesday, but I'm very public, and I try to be very honest. And I had my phone on speaker, and so my wife Denise, who was in the car with me, heard Randy say there's drones over your house. And that, Denise, I don't think you ever met her, but I think you talked to her, didn't you?
Yeah, I spoke to Denise. I never met her in person, but I definitely spoke to Denise. Yes.
Well, Denise was traumatized by that conversation. And that's why she ended up leaving for England within a day or two. She was not willing to stay in my house if she thought there were drones. And according to Randy, there was a good drone and a bad drone, and I think it's all BS. In fact, without mentioning the sheriff's employee, there is a person that was on the SWAT team in Pierce County, Wisconsin, and I said something about my wife's terribly nervous because there were drones over my house 2 days ago, and he said, and he has no reason to lie to me, he said, neither of those drones were from Pierce County. And I said, well, how do you know that? And he said, because I'm on the SWAT team, and I have firsthand knowledge that you were not under surveillance by Pierce County on the day that you alluded to. And that's the kind of friendships that humans like you, myself, Denise, we can't cause those trusting friendships, but, you can place your trust in Jesus. He'll make it happen, and he did.
Yeah, so you believe that Randy, that was bullshit coming from Randy?
Yeah, I think Randy is very deceived in her own head, and the guy that she works with is even worse off up between the years. But I think that those types of people, they think they can scare us. Well, they can scare most of us, but they can't scare all of us. And unless they can scare all of us, they cannot win.
Yeah.
Because we know from reading the book that God wins. And if we stay close to God, we're safe.
That's right. So you received that phone call with Denise in the car saying, and Randy was saying, you've got to get out. You've got to get Cindy Absag, Ryan, and those people out of your house immediately. So what happened next?
Well, this is funny. Can you use a little humor?
Yes.
I said, okay, Randy, I'll take care of her right away. And I hung up on her. And I called my power of attorney, and I think you know his name, and I'm not going to announce his name, and neither are you, I hope, okay?
That's right.
Okay. But he's a very good friend. I called him, and I call him Agent RPM. RPM. Yeah, you got to have a sense of humor to beat these people. I said, RPM, this is Agent Chips. And he said, go ahead, Agent Chips. I said, you need to get over to my house and get Cindy, James, and Ryan out of my house and get them out of there so quickly they don't even have time to pack. He said, no, I don't have to do that. And I thought we were miscommunicating. I said, why is it you don't have to do that? He said, because they're all three in my office right now, meaning his office. I said, you're kidding me. They're in your office? He said, yeah, they're all here, and they have a car outside. And I said, I recommend that you encourage them, and I'm trying not to say anything colorful, like get the blank out. But that's what I would have told them. I said, they need to get the blank out of Plum City and go somewhere that I don't know. I don't need to know where they go. They need to get out of Plum City. And so he said, I'll take care of it right away. And I said, well, then I think that when I get home, I believe that Dr. Good Vibes will be joining Denise and I at home. And, my memory is quite good. And here's a detail that, Dr. Good Vibes died. than Denise does, and I'm going to die. But not yet. This battle's not over, and I'm not throwing the towel in. But anyway, I said, okay, well, here's what we'll do. When Good Vibes gets to my house, I will clean out the 2 bedrooms that were occupied by James and Ryan, and I'll put all their stuff into a container, and I will get it to them. But because I respect ladies, and I'm terribly loyal to anybody that's loyal to me. But I said, because Denise is my wife, I said, I'm not going to go into Cindy's room, but Dr. Good Vibes, because as a medical professional, he obviously would have seen female patients in all sorts of conditions of undress. I said, I'm not going to go into the bedroom that Cindy was staying in, but Good Vibes will have to do that because I refuse. It's an invasion of her privacy, and I simply will not do it. And there's people out there, one of them being my own daughter, one of them being Dr. Good Vibes' recent widow, and one being my power of attorney's wife. They know that there's a certain drawer that I have not cleaned out in a chest of drawers in the master bedroom, and I'm not going there, and I'm not going to clean that drawer out because it's a violation of Denise's privacy. Enough about that. Yeah, Randy Erickson and Timothy Charles Holmstead, I think, have tried to perpetrate a fraud upon me, and then to add injury to insult, they've tried to scare me. Well, I'm not afraid of them. If you've ever seen either one of them, and I won't be overly ungentlemanly, I'll just say I am not afraid of either of them. Here's the only thing in the world I fear, and it's very easy to understand. I fear falling 1 nanosecond late. I don't want to be late in serving God, and when God lays a mission on my heart, then I jump to attention and I carry out his orders. And I'm going to continue doing that until I'm dead. And then when I'm dead, I'm going to be leaving for a wonderful destination. And when I get there, I'm going to be judged. And my name will either be in the book of life or not. And I pray that it's in the book of life. Over to you.
Amen to that. Me too. Okay, so moving on. So they took off. Do you feel, I know you can't predict, but do you think that Randy Erickson was trying to instill fear in Cindy Absug to make her run? Or
I honestly, I love it when you or anyone asks me a question that I cannot answer, because then I have 2 choices. I could make up something, or I could just say, honestly, I don't know. I have no idea why Randy was making all this BS up. But if she thought that it would scare me, she never knew me. If she thought it might scare Denise, well, she didn't think that either, because she didn't know I was sitting right next to Denise in my car driving her home from the airport, not to the airport. But when God prepares a soldier or a Marine or a prayer warrior, and if I give you a first name, would you promise not to say the second name right now?
I promise.
Do you know a prayer warrior named Jody?
Yes, I do.
Okay. If God prepares a Christian soldier, a Christian Marine, or a Christian prayer warrior, he prepares them perfectly. And no one's going to intimidate. The day I got arrested, once again, my best friend that passed away recently, Mike, he was standing right next to me when I got arrested. Another name that you're familiar with, Kirk Pendergrass, was standing right next to me. And when the 7 cops in 5 cop cars showed up to get a 70-year-old truth toothless, drooling geriatric gunslinger arrested, I didn't act scared. I didn't resist. I just turned around and smiled and said, "Can one of you guys drive my truck home? I don't think I'll be going home from this trip." And what I meant by that was going home to my house in Plum City, not going home to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But anyway, Dr. Good Vibes said, "Yeah, I'll take your truck home." And so I threw him the keys. Then I hopped in the cop car, and then the adventure started. And I had no idea what was going on, but I knew two things. I knew I was innocent of any crime, and I knew that God would protect me. So I happily went to jail, and I was inconvenienced for the last, we're talking about November 4th of 2019, and here we are, soon to be in October of 2022. So it's getting real close to 3 years of this, and this has to be put behind us. And so while I dry my tears, why don't you and I both recommit to the fact that we will deal with nothing but a little good news?
Yeah, that is and that from this after this show forward, that's it for me. I'm done with this nonsense. I've reached out to the other side. I've listened to their side of the story.
Yep.
I believe that not just you, but both of us were deceived greatly, and I take that weighs on my heart heavy, and I had to straighten the record, and I have.
Yep.
In my opinion, and people can blindly follow Tim and Randy. That's up to them. I know what they are. I know what they did, and I know the lies and the deception firsthand. I was in Tim and Randy's camp for 2 years. I spoke to Randy Erickson on the phone at least 3 times a week. Her and I texted every day. I know that woman better than most people do, and she's dirty, in my opinion. That's my opinion only. I believe that she's a deep state asset that was sent in to take out people like you and David Straight and Chris Hallett. And I'm going to leave it at that. That's my beliefs. I've done my research. I've connected my own dots. I'm not supporting them ever again. They are liars, and they are propagandists, and they are opportunists that grift off of gullible listeners. But moving forward, so
Yeah.
so there was this one thing, getting back to Cindy Absek. So they left, and there was a lot of people were questioning this loaded gun that Ryan supposedly took, that belonged with him on that trip, that belonged to you. Can you explain what that loaded gun is or was?
Well, Ryan is an expert marksman. He was a military policeman in the Louisiana Army National Guard. He's very handy with weapons. He would not have needed a loaded gun of mine, of which on that day in history I probably have 13 to 15 around the house. But he wouldn't have needed my gun because he would have had his own gun. No, what I think when somebody used the term, and I don't even know who used that term to you, but I think what Ryan might have availed himself of was I had a thumb drive, or perhaps I had 3 of them, but I had a thumb drive in a coffee cup, and when you come here, I'm just looking over my shoulder at my own office. Somebody moved that coffee cup, and it wasn't Ryan. Don't worry, it's here somewhere. I think it's in my kitchen. But I had a thumb drive in a coffee cup, and the reason I give you such precise details is because the loyal white hats in the military and intelligence branches, they go out and they can prove that I'm giving you, in this case, I'm giving it to you right now so you can broadcast this next week or whenever you're ready to. But I had a coffee cup, and it's specifically this. Irish, IRISH, moiled, MOILED, cattle, Cattle. I had an Irish boiled cattle cup, and in that cup was the thumb drive that I think has been referred to as a loaded gun. It had all the evidence of every phone conversation that Timothy Holmstead is alleged to have made, and I said alleged. I mean, he could allege that I'm a giraffe, but that doesn't make me 18 feet tall with spots. In fact, he can allege whatever he wants, but I would prefer to put him in the rearview mirror and move on with positive news, no negativity. And before I give up on the no negativity, have you ever seen the clip from Kelly's Heroes where Donald Sutherland says, "Enough negativity already"? Have you ever seen that clip?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, I'll send it to you, because I guess you're going to put this up next week or whenever. Yeah. And I will send you, from the time you and I hang up, and I'm looking at my watch right now, and I think it's 19:11 p.m. So if we sign off, at some point soon, by 9 o'clock p.m., you will have that clip of Donald Sutherland, Kelly's Heroes, no negativity. And that should be our guiding principle at A Little Good News Radio. And even though you know where A Little Good News came from, for any first-time listeners, there was a song back in about 1982 by Anne Murray. The title was A Little Good News, and the bridge, or the whatever you call that, the commonly repeated quote was, "We sure could use a little good news today."
Today. Amen.
And that's what you and I don't know, there's a lady whose name starts with J. I think she's going to be helping with the chat room.
Yeah.
There's a woman who means the world to me, who is being offered the opportunity to be in the chat room. And there's a man who goes by the word James Kim, and what James Kim might mean is brother to James. Okay?
Yeah. From the Bible. Yeah.
Okay, now wait a minute. I was just going to ask you that. I think you said, what did you say? Let me get this right.
From the Bible. James's brother from the Bible. James Ken.
Okay.
Because Ken means sibling or family.
Who was, in the Bible, who was James a brother to?
He was a brother. Wasn't he a half-brother to Jesus?
I think so.
I believe so too. I'd have to check that. You can't quote me on it. I'm pretty good with Bible scriptures, but I'm not like stellar in that area. I usually look them up before I quote them, to be honest. Yeah, I'm hoping that he'll come on board too, because
okay, challenge me biblically right now. You, Paula, we didn't talk about this. We didn't communicate about it. Ask me to give you 5 of my favorite Bible quotes. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, give me 5 of your favorite Bible quotes.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever would believe in him would have eternal life. God, please honor your word in my case. Thank you for taking Denise home, and I hope that you bring another lady back home. That's one of my favorite quotes. I also like the quote Ephesians 5:11, which is what Abel Danger was all about, because that's how Abel Danger got started, because God asked me to expose evil. Ephesians 5:11 have nothing to do with the evil deeds of darkness, but rather expose them.
Yeah.
That's what I've done. That's what I've tried to do.
Yeah.
Did I succeed or not? I'll find out when I get my report card in heaven. Isaiah 55:11. And so it is with the words of my mouth, they shall not depart from me and return void without having accomplished the purpose for which I sent them. Isaiah 54:17. No weapon raised against you shall prosper, and every tongue that accuses you, you shall rebuke. I gave you 4, didn't I?
Yes. I like Hosea 4:6 too, which is
Oh, you
my
want me to
people
quote
die
it or
from
you
lack
want to
of
quote it?
knowledge. I love that one myself.
Yeah, that's Hosea 4:6.
Yeah.
My people die for lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, how are you going to get knowledge? Because if you go to the mainstream media, and frankly, if you go to most alternative truth sites, you're just going to get more lies.
Hmm.
Well, turn inward. Turn into your own heart. I'm talking to
Exactly.
Paula and Field and the lady in
Exactly.
Chamberlain. Turn into your own heart and search your own heart and see if there's anything missing. And
Yeah.
I can tell you that I believe in all three of our cases, and I'm talking about the lady in Camberley, the lady in Vancouver, British Columbia, and the non-lady that's sitting on my rear end right now, and that means me. I'm sitting on my rear end in my office, and I'm doing a masterful job of holding my seat down. No, we can't ever find the truth because people will lie to us, but we can look inward and we can
Yeah.
determine if we're serving God or we're serving Satan.
Yeah.
And, in my family, there were two kids. Either me and my sibling, one of us served Satan, and one of us is currently serving God. So I'm glad you brought up Hosea, Hosea
Hmm.
4:6, because that's why people do die, because they don't have knowledge of the truth, and the truth will set them free. And if I'm not mistaken, that's in John 14:2. I'll look it up later.
Hmm. Yeah, and the thing too, right? And God warns us if we don't receive the love of the truth, and
Yep.
he will cast us to our own delusions, and that is 2 Thessalonians 2:10-12, I believe. So those that do not receive the love of the truth will receive a strong delusion, and because you did not receive the love of the truth, he will leave you behind and your family. And he warns you and your children, right? So he warns you. It's a harsh warning. People
Yeah.
think that it's all, you know, God's love is conditional. You just don't let people that are willing to overlook evil and turn a blind eye to it into his kingdom, because how would
Now
you
I want to.
be able to determine what was good or bad if you were gatekeeping for his kingdom? You have to learn the difference before you can make it there. So
Now, did you just say God's love is conditional?
yes, it is conditional. He showed me.
No, I know. The book tells me too.
Yeah.
Now, you know somebody that I love greatly and care a great deal about, correct?
Yes, I do. I know exactly. Yep.
Okay, and one of the things that I've told that person more than any other thing that has a multi-syllable word in it, I say I love you, which is true. I do. I have. I always will. But I've told this person, I said, my love for you is unconditional. And I'll just leave it at that, because when I love somebody, I loved Denise. I loved Dr. Goodvibes. In fact, you know what? I still love Dr. Goodvibes, and I still like Denise. They are not gone. They're just gone from here.
Yeah.
So my love is unconditional, and my love is eternal. And I hope the object of my love gets to hear this recording.
Yeah, I hope so too. So,
Thank you.
so to finish this up, and to put closure to the past and
Yep.
the last 3 years of what we've all been through, but mostly what you've been through, do you have any ill feelings towards the female attorney in Florida today for doing
No.
what she did?
No.
Okay.
I have no ill feelings. I have forgiven her. And God tells us in his book that, judge not, at least by the same measure it'll be judged against you. I don't understand why that party participated in what it appears she participated in, and I'm not allowed to say that party's name. And I am on probation for about another 36 hours. So maybe in 37 hours, I will never say her. No, I will never say her name again. Here's why. Out of respect for her. She has sent a message to someone that said basically, Field, I'm so sorry that you lost your best friend.
Yeah.
What else does she need to say? I mean, she's expressing love.
That came from Miss Picasio. It did. I saw that message myself. I've spoke to her not on the phone, only through message, and she's been super friendly and super warm and super receptive to helping us disclose the truth and figure out what went wrong. And for that, I can only give her respect. I understand she was under attack by Tim for 10 years and was accused of horrendous things that, in my opinion and based on my research, are not true. We were all deceived. I went after her as harshly as you did. I'm not going to lie. I did, because we love children, and when we believe that somebody is guilty of something, and Tim deceived us all, we go after those people harshly. And I asked for her forgiveness, and she's forgiven me for that. And her and I are good today. And I believe that you guys are too.
Well, next time you communicate with that person who I can't name, would you just reassure her that I have forgiven her and she will never feel threatened by Field McConnell ever again in her life? But, I'm willing to forgive people who've been used. There's a couple people I'm not willing to forgive, and I know I'm supposed to be positive, so I'll say I positively will not forgive. Either of the two, that's pretty good positivity. I positively will not forgive the two governors that extradited me. And it doesn't matter who they are, they know.
Yeah.
And, And, see, the reason I'm reluctant to forgive the governors who abused me is they should have known what they were doing, and they didn't. But maybe someday I'll get tired enough where I'll forgive them too, but I doubt it. But anyway, I want to say that I forgive the attorney. I forgive Denise for any unkind things she might have said about me that I'm not aware of. But, women are women and men are men, and sometimes we say things to other people because we just want to hear ourselves say them. And you can't say them to yourself, so you got to speak to somebody else. If Denise ever said anything unkind about me, I never heard about it. And I do have an ongoing loving relationship to her only child, whose name is George. And I think there's so many songs. One of them, and I don't even know the name of this song, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. That's the only thing that there's just... Anyway, I'll get that song and send it to you by Friday night, so it gives me 2 or 3 days.
I know that song. I'll go through this video. I'm not going to edit it. When I put this video up, I'm going to leave it raw and uncut. We're not holding anything back. Kim Picasio has forgiven me, so I'm really grateful for that, because I felt terrible. And I just want to move forward.
Me too.
And I want to unite us, not divide us anymore. I'm done. But the Randy and Tim stuff, I'll keep exposing that just because I know what it is firsthand. I've experienced it firsthand. I watched it unfold. I was a witness to that. I was deceived. I was blind, and I was in their camp blind until God lifted those scales, and then boom, that was about a year ago, and I saw it all, and I was like, and I truly feel that God left me blind for a reason, because I pay attention when I'm in a situation, and I was able to help expose that, and I'm glad for that. So, because like you said, Ephesians 11, correct? Expose evil, correct?
Ephesians 5:11.
5:11, yeah. So, and I think that that's what this has been about for me, and my tiny contribution to the truth, and mending burned bridges, and reuniting or uniting for the first time. It's good to accept opposing theories and thoughts on political, religious things openly without judgment. And we're learning about each other, that group and myself. So that's good. That's not bad. That's a good thing. So
I have to ask a question with a good purpose.
okay,
Are we getting close to concluding this?
we are done.
Can I publicly thank you for something?
Yes, absolutely.
Please don't say absolute, or I might go grab a bottle of vodka. I'm kidding, of course.
How about abso-fucking-lutely?
Yeah. No, we need humor and we need love. But what I want to thank you for publicly is that when I was unable to get home to Denise to attend to her upcoming death, even though I told the judge that my wife was terminal, he wouldn't let me come home. Well, and then Denise went home. But here's the thing I want to thank you for. You were a rock-solid ally for Denise, have you ever seen the video of Denise and I getting married the second time in England?
Yes, you sent it to me.
Okay, good. Because in there, I said to the man who married us, I said, I've been married before, but I've never been loved before. And if I were to die, in the next 3,500 years, that's one of my favorite quotes. And it sounds like I'm kissing my own derriere, which I'm not. I'm just awfully glad that I made the public statement that I'd been married before, but I'd never been loved before. So I'm sending love to you, Paula, for standing beside my wife, Denise, when I was incarcerated. Thank you very much. It means the world to me.
Aw. I loved her and I love you. I still love her. She's still here in spirit.
I know.
So,
she's been in this house. My grandson, who's 4, when he was 2, he told his mom, who's my daughter, Mom, I just saw Denise. And this was several months after Denise had died, or maybe even a couple of years. But my daughter said, where did you see Denise? And he said, I just walked by the master bedroom and the door was open and she was standing in there. And this is after she's dead. And what that tells me is Denise's spirit feels comfortable here.
Yeah. And they also like to reassure us as loved ones that they're okay, right? So these are all affirmations that it's not over. And as you know, I had a near-death experience and I went to heaven and I came back for God. I know that there's more to this life than just this. And on that note, I don't want to hold you up too much longer. It's been an emotional conversation for both of us, and I just really appreciate your honesty, and I'm looking forward to moving forward and sharing
a little good news.
A little good news. So I'm hoping that everybody will tune in and we'll move forward. Onward, marching soldiers. Let's pick up our crosses and keep going, folks.
Yeah, it's a joyous journey.
It is. It's
So
a
let's get started.
so yeah. So thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, my dear friend. I love you, and I'm always with you. You know that. And okay, on with the good news. So I'll say good night and God bless to you, and I'll talk to you. I'll probably talk to you tomorrow. So
Yeah, no, that's call anytime.
Okay.
Unless there's people who tell me I might have to go to Florida to be in court again. Then I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to say anything negative. I'm going to be positive. I positively love and respect you, Paula. I positively love and respected Denise. And there's another lady that I positively and unconditionally love, regardless. Okay?
yeah. Well, let's pray for that one too. So on that note, I'll let you go, and I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Okay, God
you.
bless. Have a blessed day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
But for everyone, Lord, we don't need another meadow. There are cornfields and wheat fields enough to grow. There are sunbeams and moonbeams enough to shine. Oh, listen, Lord, if you want to know. That there's just too little love. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some.